As my internship experience under Dr. Gorey, which is our superintendent. It was a year-long internship experience, and I'll pretty much go through exactly what took place during this year of the intern. The agenda, pretty much I'll talk about the professional development plan, the things that I truly worked on to grow on as a leader, all the activities that were done. I'll connect the literature that my doctoral studies literature to the activities. Also, the outcomes, what happens in this outcomes. This internship does have specific outcomes we must meet, so I'm going to make the connection, how the activities that I did connected to those outcomes. And then we have insights. What did I really learn from this internship, and how would I apply it to our current workplace, which is our school? The professional development plan, leadership. Leadership is on everybody's. Everyone who goes through the doctoral program have to have leadership as one of their areas working on, because again, our degree is in leadership studies, which means it's not an educational degree. It's to lead a complex organization is what our degree is focusing on. Oral and written communication skills is pretty much the one that I chose. I have to pick 2 out of 9 major areas of leadership that I must focus on, and I did oral and written communication, which means knowing how to address different kinds of audiences, like board meetings, town hall meetings, team meetings, just been able to write for those different kind of audiences. Planning, being an effective planner to get things pushed through and done in a complex organization, as well as delegation. How do you accomplish tasks and get a lot of work done when you work in a complex organization? The activities. The first activity that I did was pretty much ongoing throughout the year, was working with the superintendent and the executive cabinet. Those are the people who work directly under him, all of the directors. Pretty much what this conversation is building, the talent and human development of our district. And pretty much with this, we did a lot of speaking and talking about how we're going to retain, grow, and keep the teachers here in our district. And that's the whole recruiting. So out of this activity, what came out of it is the TAP program came out of it as far as putting the TAP into 7 other zone schools to actually grow teachers there, and not only that, but attract teachers to go to those sites that are not fully staffed as highly qualified staff. And then we also have a district recruiter that came out of this talking to actually build around the vision of our district. Speaking and presenting engagements, did quite a bit of those all school year long, as far as speaking at conferences, and not only conferences, but also going to schools and speak. So some schools that I'll talk about later that I did some trainings and speaking to: Oak Park, Sunset Acres, and then I partnered with 2 schools in Bolger, Stockwell and Plantation Park, as far as doing leadership trainings with them. Marketing the district visions. Job fairs were the biggest thing. One thing about it, schools go to job fairs, but at the same time, we don't do a good job of marketing our district at the job fair. So if you went to the recent one, or the one that was you got more district stuff, talking about the facts of our district, not only just schools, but district stuff. One of the major ones was promoting the district millage renewal. There was one I did major work on that, as far as creating a letter that went out through all schools and principals, as well as the PowerPoint that was shared around the district. I was one of the lead presenters of that PowerPoint to talk about the importance of why the millage renewal was so important. Strategic Planning Committee, I worked with Dr. Peace in the Pre-K 3-2 literacy program, as far as putting our strategic plan together for our district, as far as Objective 1, increasing the reading fluency or the reading proficiency for K2 throughout our district by 2020. In the District Advanced Ed Accreditation, I did dual roles on that one. I led the work at our school to doing the portfolio, but I also worked on the district team too, to analyze the district's the school's portfolio, look at their ratings, look at their artifacts, and see did they have enough things to really say that they got their rating. So we did a lot of work to put in those artifacts and looking at data with all of that. But those are a lot of stuff to do as far as balancing the job that I have here. These are the things I worked on this school year. Literature group connections. Pretty much this is the literature that we have to connect, that I made connections with during this intern program. The first one you see is Beach 2006, and it talks about the 6 prime responsibilities of a leader. So I had to really refer to that literature doing those activities. The second one is Bowman and Deal 2008, that talks about reframing. How do you frame a complex organization? And you talk about 4 frames in that. You have a symbolic frame, you have a structural frame, you have a political frame, and you have a human resource frame. Carter 1996 talks about the 8 stages to making major change. So I had to refer on that literature as well when working on certain activities that Dr. Gorey had assigned me to. Buchanan and Badham, 2008. With that one, that pretty much talked about leadership roles on impression management. How do we make our district look like an attractive district to get people to come to our district, and also expert power. How do you use power bases to get things done? Bryce, in 2011, we talked about this was going with our strategic plan when working with the strategic plan committee. Talked about the planning cycle, going through all the steps and the stages. And Bardetch, 2012, talking about how do you push policies through. So all of those kind of things we had to take into play, or where I had to take in consideration when I met at teams, when I got the projects done through this internship program. Program outcomes and connections. These are the things that this internship strives to make us do and build us, and these are the things we have to show that we work towards. Number one, evaluates how an organization sustains programs. That was done through Advanced Ed. With Advanced Ed accreditation, we had to evaluate every school and pick out all the strengths of every school that was doing. And in turn, whoever led the work on the campus for the schools had to write how are they going to sustain the strengths. What are you going to do? What do you have in place at your school? When we did our surveys at our campus, I had to write and say, how are we going to sustain our strengths? So we did that across the district. Develops a vision for transforming an organization. That's coming to presenting at schools. That's why I presented a report. The school was struggling, so they want to say, hey, we want to do some zone stuff. Come implement houses. Come tell us how we need to get our leadership meetings going. So those are the kind of things I did. The teacher recruitment and development. We have to share our district's vision of why we want them to come to and work in our district. Articulate the vision and goals. Pretty much all those activities that you see there are listed talked about the vision. What is our district vision? What is the vision? What are the goals for our district? And so those how I met those outcomes with those activities. Continuum, evaluate progress towards goals. Again, Advanced Ed, we had to do a lot of evaluating, ranking our school on standards. Our school can get between a 1 and a 4 on each standard. Strategic planning committee, we had to come up with the end goal. What do we want to see? So we saying by 2020, we want 74% of pre-K second grade students reading on grade level. So that's putting and working towards goals. Response to community needs and sustain community. That's pretty much dealt with Advanced Ed. With Advanced Ed, I had to organize a community meeting to bring all of our community sponsors in, as well as our parents, to bring them in as well so they can talk about what they like about the schools, what they dislike about schools, what the schools are doing for them, what the schools are doing for their kids. And the parents were really honest when it comes to it. That's one part of the accreditation process, from feedback from the parents. And also presenting to schools. That's building community networks. By me going to Oak Park, by me going to Sunset Acres, and by me working with the schools in Bossier, I'm building a community network with schools. Effectively employing teamwork and other collaborative strategies. None of these projects were done alone. With the Advanced Ed project, I had the leadership team to work with me on for us getting survey information done. When I presented at the international conference in November on leadership, I had a team of people to work on that same presentation with me. With the conferences that I have done throughout the state, I always have a co-presenter. That's someone to make sure the papers are passed out and all of that. So all of these things are done with collaborative strategies. So they're not just done by Mr. Rainey leading them. I'm working on a team with people. And the next to the last thing, personal insights from the internship. These are the things that I got out by doing all of this work. Teacher shortages can be diminished through great leadership. One thing that I found is, as I think about the 3 years I've been here, we haven't had a teacher problem. Pretty much everybody who left because of a promotion. So it wasn't hard to find teachers, and I think that's because of the great leadership that's in place. Whereas you can go to some schools with poor leadership and they have major shortages. So that was one of my arguments when I met with the cabinet is, do we have a leadership problem or do we have a teacher shortage? Because I think teachers will go with great leadership. So I asked them to kind of this year or next year start looking to put a leadership development program in place to grow new and emerging leaders so that they will be people that folks want to work for. The next thing is principal and leaders teams are not doing a good job as instructional leaders. One of the insights I found out as presenting to all the schools is their leadership team is doing more supervising. They're supervising and not growing them and coaching them to become great teachers. So that's one thing that came out of going to different schools doing workshops. The next one is there's something successful in our organizations. One thing that brought this out is our school is a D school. But people use our school practices a lot, which means they make it feel like we're a school. So there's success in all schools, whether your school is an F2 or A school. There is something successful in all organizations. The next thing is about school turnaround. There's no perfect plan for school turnaround, but there are best practices to put in place to change schools. So once you put those practices in place, however you put them in place, if you do them effectively, it will change the school, but there's no set one plan. The next one is the external system. These are our outside stakeholders, the community sponsors. They have a major impact on schools. Pretty much all those activities had someone from the outside connected to it to make it successful. When we think about the millage renewal policy, if our outside people that wasn't in education didn't get out and vote, it probably wouldn't have passed. When we talk about the strategic plan, if we hadn't brought in experts from the outside to lead their work, that plan probably wouldn't be successful. When we talk about advanced ed accreditation, if those parents hadn't come to those meetings and talk really good about the district and really good about the school, I'm pretty sure that we wouldn't achieve a full accreditation with that. The knowledge of audience and delivery techniques must be considered when you want buy-in. So I have to be mindful when I go and present, or we have to be mindful when we present to different audience. I'm going to give you an example. Our millage renewal passed, and we promoted it only from the district. So the principals led the work on it. We didn't do any outside media, any outside marketing or advertising. But when you think back to our bond issue that failed, we invested millions of dollars to do marketing, promotions, and put it out there. And the community sponsors or the outside community got a hold to it and say, you guys just want to waste money. So they voted against it. So you have to be very careful how you present stuff to our external stakeholders. And then the next thing is, based on our district's strategic plan and mission statement, all schools, that's all 62 schools in Caddo, your mission and vision should be complements of the district. So everything that you're doing at your school should really, really go in sync with our district's mission and vision statement. And the last slide, how will I apply this to our school, to our organization? One, I'm all about growing teachers and leaders in my organization. That's what I live for, to grow people. Sustaining the success that effectively through delegation and accountability. That means that we want to continue to grow every year. But how do we do that? I can't do all the work. We have to delegate and we have to hold people accountable. And the last one, effectively create proactive action plans to address issues. Our school, as a leader, you are constantly faced with decisions every day. Before I got on my car this morning, before I can come to my office, I had 2 issues that I had to handle before I can put my bag down. Didn't relate anything to what happened yesterday or what happened to the day before. So you are always thinking and putting out fires and putting out issues. So it's one that you have to have proactive plans in place where you don't just react, but you say, hey, when you say this could probably going to be an issue in the long run, let me go in and do a plan for this now. So if it happens, we'll have a plan for it. So that's pretty much how we'll apply all of this that I've learned this whole school year. Now, thank you for your time. Do you have any questions?
No.
It's well presented.
Thank you. So, again, thank you for your time, and we will apply this to our school.
Great job.